Yo. What up, y'all? What up, y'all? What is going on, y'all? That's right, yo. I'm checking in here. This is the Midweek Report. Yes, I have been really busy here when it comes to what's been going on in boxing. You know, if y'all have not caught up with what's been going down, of course, I had the rumor mill of sorts the other day involving David Benavidez and David Morrell. Not soon after that, it was pretty much released that it would be official that David Benavidez and David Morrell will be fighting each other in the light heavyweight division. Corey, and going on from what happened later on in the day, y'all had missed it. I was part of Real Boxing with Coach Ronnie Shields. Of course, Coach Ronnie Shields is the head trainer of David Morrell Jr. And I was there with, of course, brother Joseph Heron of War Week Radio. And we talked about what was going down, what was, basically the news coming out that they had agreed to terms, David Benavidez and David Morrell Jr. So that is pretty much being set up for either the end of September, the end of January, or the beginning of February. So the last Saturday in January or the first Saturday in February, you will see David Benavidez versus David Morrell Jr. in the 175-pound division. And now we pretty much had reports released that, well, the whole situation there with the WBO super welterweight title. Yeah, Sebastian Fedora, who is the unified super welterweight champion. And you had a certain fighter that was the mandatory challenger for the WBO super welterweight title. And that guy was Terrence Bud Crawford. Okay. They had originally had a little thing there where we're supposed to negotiate, given 30 days to negotiate, come up with a deal, or the WBO would put up a purse bid. Well, what ended up happening was there was an extension that was requested, and that extension was granted by the WBO. It was 10 days. 10 days pretty much coming, pretty much gone. And now it looks like, hey, all signs are pointing towards WBO saying, hey, I guess we ain't necessarily having this fight between Sebastian Fundora and Terrence Crawford. And so what is up going to happen is, hey, we're going to have Errol Spence versus Sebastian Fundora. With Terrence Crawford saying, hey, y'all want to go have that fight? Y'all go have that fight. But I'm going to keep my status as the number one, or basically the mandatory challenger for that WBO super welterweight title. Real quick, my guy Light Skin Lou in the building. Salute to you, my guy. Y'all check out my guy Light Skin Lou. He's doing his thing, not just in boxing, but in football, other sports, and everything like that on his YouTube channel. So if y'all can, y'all go ahead and check that out. But back I'm in the scene, right? So you had this news about, well, looks like they're trying to put together Errol Spence versus Sebastian Fundora. I just said David Benavidez, David Morrell being put together. Of course, he had the news, what was last week? Tank Davis versus Lamont Rose Jr. is going to take place in Houston. And from yesterday, we're going to have Jamal Charlo involved in that fight card on December 14th. at the Toyota Center in Houston. And now some are saying that hey, maybe Jamal Charlo versus Demetrius Andrade. Ooh, now if that's the case, man, ooh, we gonna have a real good card on December 14th. So you got that going down. You got what I said with David Benavidez and David Morrell. You got what I said with Errol Spence Jr. and Sebastian Fedor, looking like that's being put together. You know, so hey, I'm saying like, hey, it's looking like PBC is being like the PBC that y'all we knew about for some time, coming up with these big matches, these big events, uh, great matchups, and that leads some to believe that hey, maybe the head honcho is back, maybe the king is back, maybe the ruler is back. I'm talking about back in full force, and that's Al Haymon. Of course, Al Haymon had some time, pretty much like off of doing major business there when it comes to the sport of boxing, advising and everything like that. Tend to his family and all that. And so, we had like a little bit of, we had some events here and there, involving the PBC. We had the Canelo events, Canelo versus Munguia in May, Canelo versus Edgar Berlanga in September. Yeah, Tank Davis versus Frank Martin in June. That was big. That was a big event. I like that. That fight was supposed to be in Houston, but now we got Tank Davis versus Lamont Rose Jr. over in Houston. Okay, so you got that. You know what I'm saying? So hey, all this, man, I'm telling you, this is like back when you had like a whole schedule that was put out as far as like fights going on involving Haymon fighters that would be under the being broadcast on the PBC. You know what I'm saying? So it'd be like that. Shout out to Alberto there real quick. He says, other than Riyadh season, PBC is putting on the best upcoming boxing events. Yeah. I think with Riyadh season, of course they got what's coming up on October 12th. Hey, they had that whole thing with the open workouts. Hope y'all saw y'all checked it out. I got Baturviev, man. I got Baturviev by stoppage. I'm telling you, it looks like he's in good shape. Man, I was having my doubts, but it looks like he's in good shape. He gonna put in the work. My guy Lou says, I got my money on Sebastian Fedor. If you have, Fedor versus Spence, because some people feel like Errol Spence ain't really in a good spot right now. The whole thing that went down, of course, what happened last year, and then stemming from that, you had the whole thing between him and Coach Derek James. So we don't know if he's fully returned, fully back, or whatever it is. But we'll have more news as far as like what his next moves will be. There are a couple of folks out there, that maybe you could follow. Some might be a little bit more forthcoming in reference to Errol Spence. Others may not quite be, but we see, or if we hear something within the next few weeks or the next month or so involving Errol Spence, then hey, we got it. You know what I'm saying? But guy Latskin Lou says, yeah, boxing is in a great place right now. Yeah. I'm like, look what's going on, man. I mean, you got, this thing coming up October 12th, we got like some good fights coming up in November, as far as like, worldwide and stuff like that. You got the December thing, of course, Usyk versus Fury 2. You got, like I said, Tank Davis going up against Lamar Rose Jr., and that's going to have a great card there. You might see a rematch of sorts on that Tank Davis fight card. So hey, we should see, we shall see how that goes. And yeah, you have that little thing there with Riyadh season, partnered up with Golden Boy Promotions, that's coming up there in November as well. So I'm telling you, man, that this last 3 months here in the sport of boxing, it was looking great. It's looking great. It's looking nice. It's looking hot. So I'm really anticipating what's going down, what's happening there in reference to all that. So I'm really really pumped and psyched about what's happening there in the sport of boxing, but in particular here with this whole thing with Premier Boxing Champions, or the events going on with Premier Boxing Champions. Definitely looking forward to that. You know what I'm saying? So I say, hey man, y'all better get pretty much prepare yourselves, get in the gear and all that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because we are going to have some great fights here coming up in the sport of boxing through, like I said, through Premier Boxing Champions. Because just going back to what I was saying earlier, you had the whole thing there with Al Haymon. We had a situation there earlier this year, so he wasn't fully, involved in what's been going on as far as like dealings with, his fighters, as far as like the fighters that he advised and all that type of stuff. It's just that he kind of like delegated most of that stuff to, a number of the people that were, involved in Haymon boxing, but now at the time they had a bigger role there in Haymon boxing, you know. But now it's kind of looking like he's fully back. Like I said, it looks like looking like the king is back or something. As they say in what is it, like wrestling circles or whatever it is, like you might have to acknowledge him or something like that, because yeah, it looks like he's fully, fully in a gear, fully in a gear, getting a number of his fighters to be put in positions for some good fights, or get some good lucrative deals when it comes to the events that are upcoming here. You know what I'm saying? So I'm liking the situation. Now, the thing is, like what I said there in reference to Sebastian Fundora, right? He now we talked about this in the past in reference to Sebastian Fundora, what his situation is, right? You know, I said, either he has a unification with Terrence Crawford, as Terrence Crawford is not only the WBO interim champion, but he's the WBA full champion, right? He got that option, or he had that option. He had to deal with, Errol Spence. Errol Spence still, gets the attention, the buzz, and all that type of stuff. And you've seen that, before the fight that happened between Fundora and Tim Zoo, where it said, "Hey, Errol Spence made that tweet talk about, hey, look, I got next." Looked like folks was going crazy. Looked like folks was going crazy. So even though we may not see, of course, Errol Spence here, but at the end of this year, we see him for next year. Tell you the buzz keep going back up, especially if this particular fight happens in Dallas, Texas. It happened in Dallas, Texas. Now, hey, how about this? Some folks have maybe teased at this. What if you have Errol Spence versus Sebastian Fundora headlining at AT&T Stadium with the co-feature David Benavidez versus David Morrell Jr. Now, that would be some event. That would be some event right there. Errol Spence versus Sebastian Fundora and David Benavidez versus David Morrell Jr. on the same card. Ooh, boy, that would really take things to another level. That would definitely take things to another level. You know what I'm saying? But as far as like a number of these other matches are concerned, that are pretty much put up there. Definitely looking forward to those that are coming up. You also gotta remember, right, that you got Tim Zoo coming up here that'll have his fight against Bakum Murtazaliev, and that will be on your Amazon Prime. Yo, that'll be on Amazon Prime. They're on October 19th. You know, so you got that fight card that's coming up there through PBC. Like I said, you have the whole thing with Tank Davis versus Lamont Rose Jr. That fight card, that's coming up December 14th. And then we got to see here when they kind of put together Errol Spence versus Sebastian Fundora. See what that date is, and if maybe Benavidez versus Morrell is on that card. Now, if it is, that would be something. That would definitely be something if that takes place. If you have both of those fights within the same card, that would be something right there. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like now we may see a number of the fighters that have been involved with or been under Haymon Boxing be included in some of these fight cards, or be part of like I said, Amazon Prime. Like how you have the whole thing with Tim Tszyu versus Bakum Murtazaliev, like that event is on regular Amazon Prime, and then you have like a Tank versus Roach on Prime pay-per-view. We may see like more of these events that are on Amazon Prime here in the near future. And I'd be very interested to see like who would be involved in some of these events or be headlining some of these events. But outside of that, these pay-per-view cards, they're looking like they're really, really, packed with some great fights. And I'm definitely, looking forward to it. I'm definitely looking forward to it because, this is, something that, we kind of like seen there in the past when it came to these PBC fight cards, was that you had a number of these, very, very good matchups there that were part of the card. Now, I know, here in these current pay-per-views, you kind of seen some of these good matchups. Some have been, sleeper fights, some have been surprises. But, others, maybe you didn't, necessarily get, what you wanted as far as like matchups were concerned. But as far as like what we're seeing here coming up on paper, it's looking really, really, really nice as far as like what's going on there with Premier Boxing Champion. You know what I'm saying? So, definitely want to see how more of these, fights get announced or, pretty much like on the docket, because I've been, looking forward to a number of these things kind of like going down. You know, definitely been looking forward to all this stuff going down, man. So um I looking for any more updates in reference to what could be happening there, like I said, within PBC. I know that, what was it, like I said, I mentioned the thing there with Tim Tszyu. Of course, it is upcoming battle on October 19th. uh like I said, there in reference to what's happening on December 14th at the Toyota Center in Houston. Like I said, um, Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach Jr. headlining there in Houston, Texas, and you could have Jamal Charlo as the co-main event. Cap Quest was good, my guy, man. What's going on with you? I hope everything is well with you and all of that. Hey, I'm just just reacting to what's going down. And when it comes to Premier Boxing Champions, you know, um, like I said, I'm very excited about what's coming up December 14th. I had pretty much like put out a thing there, a rumor mill, and that rumor thing just didn't last long at all. It didn't last long at all. But it's partially my fault because in actuality, I was supposed to put that out on Monday night. But I don't know what it was. Monday night, I just felt like super duper tired, bushed, like swamped, all that type of stuff. So I didn't really put it out there Monday night. I just put it out there early Tuesday morning, and then hours later, whole thing there with David Benavidez putting it out there saying, "Hey, Benavidez versus Morrell is going down." Now, think about it is that particular deal or negotiations and all that type of stuff really, really wasn't that much of a difficulty. The parties, both parties, they're pretty close when it comes to not necessarily like the promoter, but like manager, that type of thing, handlers, that type of stuff. They're very close, so to speak. So it didn't take that much trouble for them to contact each other in order to try to make a fight happen. Some folks may know who these representatives are, so we'll just leave it at that. But we know that both David Benavidez and David Morrell Jr. have wanted this fight for some time. I know that we've had like conversations in the past, whether it's through, like I said, through Real Boxing with Coach Ronnie Shields. You had conversations there with Jose Benavidez Sr. Reference to that potential fight. And of course, with Coach Ronnie Shields, he pretty much said like, "Hey, this fight could have happened some time ago when both fighters had like reached out to each other to see if they could make the fight happen at 168, but it just didn't necessarily work out on those occasions. But now, after both fighters have had one fight at 175, now looks like they're ready to get it going. Ready to get it going. Of course, you had on June 15th there, David Benavidez over Alexander Kovacic, with that WBC interim title there at 175. And then you had David Morrell Jr. going up against Radovich Kalajic there for the WBA world title there at 175. So, but both of these guys, are pretty much like being added around the top of the 168-pound division. Had one fight here at 175, and a number of folks are saying that they're within top 4 or 5 or so at 175. So now you finally have these fighters going up against each other. And man, I don't even know if this was on wax or not, but I did say that I didn't feel like they were going to fight each other at 168. It was going to be at 175. And well, here we are. So definitely, like I said, I'm looking forward to that matchup. Shout out to my guy YSM Sports Media. Had a conversation on YSM Sports Media's live yesterday. When this topic was brought up, and pretty much had like an early prediction of sorts there on that channel. But also probably heard it on Real Boxer Ronnie Shields as well. But like I said, that is one of the more anticipated bouts out there in boxing is David Benavidez versus David Morrell Jr. So looking forward to that. Like I said, was it going to be like January 25th or February 2nd? Let me check these. Let me check these calendar joints here, man. What we got for the calendar? So yeah, January 25th, 2025, or actually February 1st, 2025. So yeah, be on the lookout for that because they're looking to try to get this in before Super Bowl weekend. So that's those two dates. It looks like they have proposed for that fight, Benavidez versus Morrell. Right now, like I was saying earlier, of course, in reference to Errol Spence Jr. Looks like they're putting that stuff together there for him versus Sebastian Fundora. Now, yes, I've had conversations in the past with Sebastian Fundora's promoter, Samson Lukowitz. They're of course recent inductee to the Atlantic City Box Hall of Fame. But at this time, I think he is still on vacation. So won't necessarily be able to talk with him. Well, at least for this week, I have to check after this week if I could catch up with our brother Samson again, so I could get updates in reference to a couple of his fighters here that's been part of this news. But outside of that, you know, with Sebastian Fundora, if he's there against Errol Spence, what's out there for Terrence Crawford? Now, I know that there are a number of folks that were feeling like Terrence Crawford was going to go forward and have the bout with Sebastian Fundora. But initially, a deal couldn't be worked out within those 30 days. And usually, when a deal isn't reached within 30 days, there's a purse bid schedule. But there was like an extension requested by the party of Terrence Crawford. One would think that maybe it would be requested by the champion, Darren Sebastian Fundora, but nope, it was through Terrence Crawford. And of course, it was granted by the party of Sebastian Fundora. So looked like they worked out a deal, which was mentioned here by brother Matt of Brunch Boxing, that they'll negotiate some type of deal where Terrence Crawford would keep his status as the WBO interim champion and allow Sebastian Fundora to make a voluntary defense of that WBO title. And that's what we got. So shout out to brother Matt, man. I was seeing if he would be able to, join us here on the Midweek Report, but not necessarily able to reach him here at this particular juncture. I'm going to see if I can get something here later on down the line in reference to that. But yeah, that's the situation there. So here would be my question: if we have something in place there for Sebastian Fundora, what's going to be out there for Terrence Crawford? Yes, he has mentioned multiple times that he wants to secure that bout with Canelo Alvarez. Will that take place? Man, I'm up in the air on that. I'm up in the air on that, and maybe we get a little bit more of an idea after October 12th, because the winner of Beterbiev Bivol will pretty much determine partly what Canelo may do next, because Canelo does want or is interested in a rematch with Dmitry Bivol. But if Dmitry Bivol loses to Artur Beterbiev, particularly by knockout, then yeah, you ain't gonna see Canelo Alvarez really go for a Bivol rematch. You might see him go up against Chris Eubank. Chris Eubank. No. Christian and Billy. Maybe against a Christian and Billy, or maybe the William Skull. William Skull there. When William Skull faces, what do we have? He's up there for the IBF title fight. Like, I got to figure out when that title fight is going to take place anyway, between William Skull and Vladimir Shishkin, right? Because that IBF title, is supposed to basically be on the line here around this time. He supposedly have worked out a deal, for those two guys to fight, and actually that fight will take place on October 19th in Germany. Hold up, I'm checking this out. Yeah, this is in Germany, right? William Skull versus Vladimir Shishkin in Germany for the IBF super middleweight title. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. How they had this thing over in Germany, man. So that's got to be something. That's got to be something. All right there. So once that IBF thing is kind of like sorted out, maybe we see, I don't know, maybe we see someone else challenge for that IBF title. They kind of hint at that maybe we see Caleb Plant go after the winner of this particular fight to maybe see if he becomes IBF champion once again. We'll see. But as far as like Canelo goes, as far as like you know getting that belt back, he pretty much gave up that belt because it's like whatever. It's less money and sanction fees that I'll have to pay. You know, everybody knows that I'm pretty much like the top super middleweight in the world anyway. So I don't need all four titles to kind of like say that I'm the top super middleweight in the world now. You know, so wherever happens with that belt, as far as Canelo goes, he's like, you can go ahead and do what you want to do with that belt. Feel me? But when it comes to this thing here with Petreviev and Bivol, if Bivol wins, maybe we see Canelo go after Bivol again. We'll see. Alberto says, I'm hearing Edgar Berlanga may end up fighting Gabe Rosado next. And man, I don't know. They had, what was it? Gabe Rosado had like called him out or something like that. And maybe they kind of like had some traction in reference to that. I don't know. Actually, I would like to see Edgar Berlanga versus Caleb Plant. They had their little back and forth join there back in May before Canelo fought Jaime Munguia. So why not go ahead and have that thing, that little dust up happen between Edgar Berlanga and Caleb Plant. But like a Berlanga versus a Gabriel Rosado, yeah, man, I don't know about all that. Gabriel Rosado, he's been doing this thing as being a ringside commentator there for Golden Boy events. We had his last bout over a year ago against Beck Milakuziev, in that rematch. Remember, he got that knockout victory over Beck Milakuziev, but then in the rematch, he pretty much didn't do much of anything in those 10 rounds. You know what I'm saying? So for Gabe Rosado to like get back in there against Edgar Berlanga, yeah, I don't see much with that. I really don't see much with that. Feel me? So that being said, um, I like to see what goes down as far as like first with what going down the main event on October 12th. This thing should be on ESPN Plus. We don't necessarily, we might not see those other matches on the ESPN Plus side because you have, of course, Baturbiev kind of like involved through Top Rank. So that's why you pretty much get to say, hey, Top Rank, we have this fighter here, Baturbiev. He's involved in the main event. So we want to get some of that TV type stuff with that. So I'd like to see how many people be interested in watching that particular fight live on ESPN Plus here, on the US side. So that's gonna be interesting. But outside of that, yeah, with the Edgar Berlanga thing, yeah, if he ain't going up there against Caleb Plant, and why not go up against like a Diego Pacheco or something like that? I've been calling for that fight, for some time also. Berlanga versus Pacheco. We could see, potentially see that. Or maybe, Edgar Berlanga versus Steven Nelson. Steven Nelson back in the mix there at super middleweight. So why not have that fight? A good number of fights could be made there in the super middleweight division. You just gotta mix and match and put it up there. We just gotta see how that turns out. But the other thing with like I said, with all these other fights that are coming up here on the schedule, and particularly with like I said with PBC, Tank Davis getting back in the ring, looking like Errol Spence could be getting back in the ring, looking like Jamal Charlo could be getting back in the ring, looking like you could have something in the mix where Jamel Charlo gets himself back in the ring. So I'm looking forward to all of that. I'm looking forward to seeing how all that, gets itself sorted out here within these next couple weeks, next couple months. And yeah, once you have the PBC thing going down, hey, you got PBC, really back in the mix. And this is like how a lot of fight fans, they were like excited for when these PBC um broadcast events were being put out. Initially, before they had the transition over to Amazon Prime. This was when they had the whole thing there with Showtime Boxing, and yeah, PBC on Showtime. You had a number of those good events there, but on Amazon Prime, you had like a little bit of a transition. Of course, I said what I said in reference to Al Haymon and what he had to deal with there in the first half of this year. So it looks like all that's pretty. It looks like that could be straightened out here in a bit. But God like Skin Loot asks, Charlo versus Andrade. Is that true? It's kind of leaning that way. I mean, like I said earlier, Charlo's trainer, their coach Ronnie Shields, couldn't fully, divulge that. He said that there are a list of opponents that are out there, for Maul, Charlo actually, and maybe they get something within the next couple of weeks. But I mean, I'll say this: from some time back, there was like one of those IG lives there, and it had Jamal Charlo there speaking with Demetrius Andrade, you know, and they kind of like had a little back and forth in the past, with of course the whole story with you know Demetrius Andrade and Jamel Charlo and how that fight supposedly disappeared out of thin air. And so there had been like a lot of backlash over the years reference to that. But now looks like here with Jamal Charlo and Demetrius Andrade that they're looking like they kind of like are kind of cordial and speaking on some good terms here, and then maybe they could negotiate and have a fight here in the near future, December 14th. But like I said, I haven't seen anything, at least as of now, that confirms that this will go ahead and take place. So what I mean. So that's what I got on that. If I hear anything else on that, I'll let you know. But as a reminder, I have to get in contact with someone in reference to um Gary Antonio Russell. Let's see here. Let's see. Tomorrow, Friday. Okay. I will see if I could get Gary Antonio Russell on through probably Friday. I don't think it's gonna be tomorrow. Well, I'll go for Friday. Okay. So I'm gonna see about working that out. So we'll have Gary Antonio Russell on live here with the Boxing Source on Friday evening. We'll just schedule that up. So because I do want to see what's the latest with him and get a couple of things here and there because I tried to catch up with him some time back but wasn't able to get that done. So now I'll try to get it done here through the live thing. So just be on the lookout for that for me to have a conversation with Gary Antonio Russell. Okay, so yeah, be on the lookout for that. But at least here on this version of the Midweek Report, you just want to make it sure because I had like a lot of things going on at least this particular week. So trying to get my bearings and everything like that, and all this news going on, all this news going down, it's kind of like really getting here back to back to back, and I have like a very busy weekend coming up going into the following week as we have some events coming up at the Washington D.C. area on next weekend. So just follow the Boxing Source here on YouTube or on Rumble, and you'll be able to get the latest on that. Now, also, what you see here is actually the last time, pretty much, that I'll be using a certain apparatus in order to host these live joints here. Because at least for now, this whole thing with the yard, as far as like adding folks and having other conversations and trying to get them to properly be added on here ain't quite working. So I'm gonna switch things up a little bit. You probably seen a little sample of it here, earlier this week, but that is going to be more of a permanent thing here from this point forward. So definitely working on sharpening that up, and then once that's all set in stone, that's where the midweek report and the Box Source podcast will be on that apparatus from this point forward. So y'all just be on the lookout for all of that. And in reference to that, I'll give y'all updates whether it's through social media, there through Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or whatnot. Okay, so that's what I got here for the midweek report, and I'll catch y'all. Like I said, work on that thing there for Friday, and then have the Boxing Source podcast on Sunday. So with that, I'm out, folks. Peace.